Hello dear Motorsport Magazine friends and Formula One fans, once again from Abu Dhabi. The season finale is now behind us and we have also survived the tests. Formula 2 is currently still testing at the Yas Marina circuit, but we want to take another look at Formula 1, shed light on a few topics away from the racetrack because something has happened there too and we want to bring you up to date. Max Verstappen will lose his performance coach Bradley Sainz. Performance coach, what is that anyway? Some people just call it a physio, but it's all encompassing. It's not just about training together. Of course, it's also about nutrition plans. It's about massages after the sessions and after the race. And above all, it's about having a good buddy because, of course, you spend a lot of time together on the trips, at the racetracks, and then also at home because you have to train during the winter break. So that's a very, very important figure for a Formula 1 driver. Bradley Sainz and Max Verstappen have been a team since 2020. Now, Bradley Sainz wants to leave Formula 1 and focus a little more on his family and private life, which is why he will no longer be traveling with the Formula 1 team. Max Verstappen has already found a replacement, however, and he's got a lot going for him. He's been fishing with the competition. Bad news for Carlos Sainz, who is losing his longtime performance coach Rupert Manwaring. The two were a duo for 7 years, and that is obviously a big blow. It's not entirely unexpected. Sainz has known for about a month and a half that Rupert Manwaring is moving to Max Verstappen, but a replacement has not yet been found and talks are still ongoing. That's a tough blow for him, of course, but it's not so easy for Max Verstappen either, as he has to adjust to a new person. And for Rupert Manwaring, this is of course a good opportunity. On the one hand, he can work with the world champion. On the other hand, he will also have an important role at Red Bull, so in career terms it is certainly a good step for him. The performance coach is pretty much the only thing that Max Verstappen and Red Bull Racing have lost in the Formula 1 season. It's kind of strange that the replacement comes from the only non-Red Bull winner of the season, but I don't think it's connected. But Verstappen and Red Bull have also won other things this season, and that's where I'm off to the studio. Max Verstappen has already won the Drivers' World Championship in Qatar. Red Bull even closed the bag in Suzuka in the Constructors' Championship. However, one classification was open for much longer in the 2023 Formula 1 season, namely the DHL Fastest Pit Stop Award, but Red Bull also managed to win this award for the 6th time in a row since 2018. No other team has managed to oust Red Bull Racing from the top spot. If we take a look at the history of the DHL Fastest Pit Stop Award, it's quite interesting. The prize has been awarded since 2015. The first winner was actually Ferrari. In the 2016 F1 season, some of you may remember, Williams had many sensational pit stops and they won the DHL Fastest Pit Stop Award in the end. In the 2017 Formula 1 season, Mercedes was the last team to win this trophy before Red Bull Racing started its winning streak. Ferrari, first prize winner. It's hard to believe when you look at the pit stops today, isn't it? In fact, Ferrari finished in second place last season as well. Now you ask yourself, how does that fit together? Ferrari in second place? To find out, we need to take a closer look at how the DHL Fastest Pit Stop Award works. The winner gets 25 points, the runner-up 18 points and so on, just like the Formula 1 point system. A team can score a maximum of 43 points on a weekend, even if there are several pit stops. Only the fastest pit stop per driver is included in the scoring, and that is a very interesting point. The really good pit stops are rewarded, but poorer pit stops are not penalized. And that's why there's huge competition between the team's mechanics. There's huge joy after the race when the official results of the DHL Pit Stop Award are announced, at least for those teams who have done well. But a Formula 1 team principal once told me that he doesn't think it's so good because it spurs the mechanics of each team on. They really want to win the DHL Fastest Pit Stop Award, but the teams don't really care about the very last thousandth of a second at the pit stop. What is more important, however, is that they consistently deliver good pit stops. They don't benefit so much from being 1 or 2 thousandths faster, but at the same time they sometimes screw up a pit stop. That's why it's a very, very interesting classification and a very interesting dichotomy between what the mechanics want, between what the team bosses want, but of course it's also a feud between the mechanics in the end. Everyone wants to deliver the best result. Toto Wolff, for example, for a long time it wasn't so important to him overall how you stand there winning for the last time in 2017. Then they said we want to win the race on the track. Whether we win or lose a tenth of a second at the pit stop is relatively unimportant to us. But Toto has changed his mind. He has said that it is not acceptable for them to lose a second at the pit stop every time. That's why Mercedes now want to attack, reorganize their equipment and so on, and there may soon be a new competitor for Red Bull also in this classification. If we look at the times, it's obviously really spectacular. 1.80 seconds, that's the world record that McLaren set in the 2023 season, and they still finished third in the overall standings. But the records have developed quite interestingly. If we look at 2016, the Williams record, it took 1.92 seconds back then. Then there was a rule change. The cars became wider, the tires also became wider and therefore heavier. The times became a little slower. In 2019, Red Bull still managed to change all four wheels in 1.82 seconds. Then there were also a few restrictions from the regulations, i.e. automation technology was partially banned, sensors and so on. Then the pit stops became a bit slower again. At the same time, completely new cars came out in 2022, even bigger wheels, and now we have a new record again. So the development, it doesn't stand still. 1.80 seconds, you have to let that melt in your mouth. What can we do in 1.80 seconds? Maybe find the link in the video description. It could be the link to your happiness, because our friends at DHL are looking for reinforcements. A variety of interesting jobs are advertised, from drivers to couriers to technically demanding jobs such as mechatronics engineers or in IT. So now it's best to find the link in 1.80 seconds. Click on it and send your application. Thank you very much, Christian, for this excellent news. And so back to Abu Dhabi. Even on the transfer market for performance coaches or physiotherapists, there was more going on this Formula One season than on the transfer market for drivers. But there is still one cockpit that needs to be filled, namely the second Williams cockpit alongside Alexander Albon. Logan Sargeant is of course in pole position, last year's Williams driver, it has to be said, but somehow nothing is quite fixed yet.
It can happen that quickly. Now we're already back from Abu Dhabi, back to Europe. This time, however, not to our studio, but to the editorial office. Because how could it be otherwise? A pre-produced video so that you have something to watch at the weekend? Nope. Breaking news. Williams have extended their contract with Logan Sargeant sooner than they thought. The 22-year-old American will now start his second Formula One season, alongside Alexander Albon. Team boss James Vowles explained the decision in a press release that, with respect, could not have been more PR as follows. Logan has demonstrated immense skill whilst under the pressure of the world stage, making him a perfect fit for our team. We have great confidence in his abilities and believe that together we can achieve even greater success in the upcoming season. Sargeant scored a single point in 22 races last season. The bar for even greater success in 2024 is therefore not too high. With the contract extension, Williams also wants to underline its commitment to promoting young talent in Formula One, according to this press release. This is also certainly open to debate, or perhaps not. What is certain is that the 20th and final cockpit for the 2024 Formula One season has finally been allocated. During the Formula One season finale in Abu Dhabi, there were rumors that Frederik Vesti, a Mercedes junior and recent runner-up in Formula 2, might still have a tiny chance of winning the second Williams seat. But that is now a thing of the past. Mick Schumacher was already ruled out by James Vowles some time ago. He will remain a reserve driver in Formula One with Mercedes in 2024 and compete in endurance racing with Alpine. If you missed it, you can find a link to our video in the description. And now back to Christian in Abu Dhabi.
If we look at the sporting record, then of course it looks quite mixed for Logan Sargeant. In qualifying, he is the only driver who has lost to zero, and that in a season with 22 races and 6 sprints, that's quite a statement. He scored a meager point, and that also because he slipped forward when there were disqualifications in Austin. Only Nick de Vries, who didn't contest the whole season, scored fewer points. Teammate Alexander Albon almost single-handedly brought Williams up to 7th place in the Constructors' Championship, 27 points from him, 1 point from Logan Sargeant. That's a clear statement that the figures speak for themselves, but there aren't really that many exciting alternatives left, and the decision will probably not just come down to sporting parameters. As you can see, I'm still in Abu Dhabi and I've brought you a very exciting story, namely the A2RL, the Abu Dhabi Autonomous Racing League. What does that mean? You can already imagine autonomous. We've seen it all before with the Robo Race. It didn't really work. You don't hear anything about it anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. Even in the IndyCar, they tried it once with autonomously driving cars. That wasn't particularly spectacular either. Now there's a new venture with the Abu Dhabi Autonomous Racing League. These cars are based on Super Formula racing cars, and that is a very, very interesting approach. They really are one-to-one the cars that are also used in the Japanese Super Formula, and the cars are really fast. They are faster than Formula 2 cars. They have said that they want to get as close as possible to the performance of the Formula 1 cars, and that with autonomous cars. They are one-to-one the same cars, but of course you need a lot of sensors and computing power, so there is no driver in there. There is no steering wheel either, but there are many, many cameras and sensors in there, a total of 90 kilos of additional equipment. So a heavy driver, if you like. 7 cameras are installed, 3 LiDAR sensors, 4 radar sensors. So it's a Herculean task to get all that into such a single seater. In addition, it also has to be supplied with power somehow. The normal alternator from a Super Formula engine, i.e. from the Honda engine in this case, 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged, is actually not designed for this, so they had to develop and test their own alternator for it. 10 teams will be at the start, and that's a pretty interesting field of participants, because of course there are no drivers. The whole thing is fully autonomous. There are teams in that sense, but not teams as you would imagine. No Prema, no Mercedes, so no junior teams, no Formula 1 teams, but they are generally institutions. There are also 2 German teams, including the Technical University of Munich, i.e. TUM, which will take part in the first event in April of 2024. The team's task is not to somehow perfect the setup of the car. No, it's actually all about programming. It's about implementing artificial intelligence in the car in such a way that the car is firstly as fast as possible on a lap and then can also race with the other cars. However, it is not yet clear exactly what the racing format will look like, as there have not yet been any real test drives with the respective teams. So far only shakedowns have been completed to see if the systems work at all. Then the aim is to see how well the individual teams can develop the AI, and then see how many you can actually get on the racetrack together. The aim is clearly not to simply have 2 cars drive on an oval and then complete overtaking maneuvers on predefined tracks, as was the case with this Indy attempt, for example. No, they want to drive on the Yas Marina circuit, and it's not quite clear yet how good these AIs are, whether you'll be driving with at least 2 cars or even with all 10 at the same time. It certainly sounds like an interesting project. We all know that racing series come and go, usually because of the money. Here the money is already in the name, Abu Dhabi Autonomous Racing League. They have really spent a lot of money. Almost 20 Super Formula cars were purchased and converted at once. Daniil Kvyat, the former Formula 1 driver, was allowed to complete test drives here. He is supposed to be the benchmark, the human benchmark for how fast such a car can be driven. Money is not a problem, at least at the beginning. It comes from Abu Dhabi. It's a government thing, an initiative, and I'm curious to see how the whole thing will develop. There is also over $2 million in prize money at the first event, so we will of course be following everything more closely. There's also an article about it in our print edition, and our print edition is a wonderful story, especially as Christmas is just around the corner. You certainly haven't bought any presents for your loved ones yet, just admit it. That's why we now have the solution for you. You can give an annual subscription to Motorsport Magazine. The link is at the bottom of the video description, and I'll say it again for everyone who hasn't heard it yet. It's really only an annual subscription. You don't want to give your loved ones something for 10 years either, but a fixed price for 1 year, and then it stops automatically, unlike a normal subscription that is otherwise available on our website. Enough from Abu Dhabi for now. We'll see you again. Well, I don't know exactly where yet, but I can promise you that we'll have some exciting content for you in the coming weeks.